It's the first game I played. Of course I'm going to do a review on it. To be fair though, the very first game that I played was this on the Super Nintendo. I wasn't exposed to the PC version of this for long after it came out. And I think I'm the better man for that, but we'll get to that in a second. You get a look at your front here. You have your Toho Godzilla. In later repressings, they got rid of that guy because it was either Toho said no, or Maxis themselves was worried about having a likeness of Godzilla be some type of copyright infringement. Anyway, that guy got replaced by a Tornado in later packaging design, but your little outer control system here stayed the same. So, I would have been not even one when this game came out. I forget what month it came out, but it came out in 1989, so it definitely came out after I was born, but not much. So, we're about the same age. But anyway, on the back here, we have, you have 4 gameplay screens, but I want you to focus on that top left one because that's the one we're going to be doing, since it's DOS. This version here, as you can see by the close-up, is compatible with IBM PCs, XTs, ATs, PS2, yada yada. It's not the Sony PS2, by the way, but supports EGA, CGA, Hercules, the Hercules sound card, which I don't even want to go through the trouble of emulating, and things like that. However, it says mouse and printer optional. You really want a mouse when you're playing this game, but a printer is indeed optional, and I'm pretty sure a simple Control-P will get you your printed out city. However, there is one small problem. That just might be how we have to play it. This game would have come bundled in 3.5 inch, the smaller of the 2 floppy disks. You have your 5 1/4 and you have your 3.5. But the small problem here is that all my computers are too new to have a floppy drive connector, and this is factory sealed anyway, so I don't want to buy a USB floppy drive just to play this specific version of the game. The good thing, though, is that it's all over abandonware sites, and EA doesn't seem to have any trouble with you downloading them and playing an emulated version. Plus, I have a legit copy, so I'm 100% legal to do this. Anyway, onward we go. So if you didn't know the winning formula of this game, SimCity has you effectively running a simplified simulated city. You provide water to zoned areas. Residential areas are where people live. Industrial areas are where most people work, and commercial areas are where people shop. You can provide transportation in the forms of road and rail. No rail stations. But one bit of strategy here that you gotta remember, this comes from Will Wright himself, I think, is the city of the future runs on rails. So you don't want to use roads. They lead to pollution and traffic jams. The news ticker will bark at you if there are no roads, but who cares what they have to say? I'm also getting tired of this whole no background music thing. You also provide transportation in the forms of seaports, where industries can import and export goods, and airports for getting tourism in for your commercial zones. So, there's that. There is also the stadium for residential cat busting, because, you know, they need to go out a time or two. You have parks. You can put down parks in case you can't fit anything else into a spot. Parks have the benefit of raising the local land value. Also, you can go in and run the city's finances. These finances are incredibly simple. Basically, it's adjusting a universal tax rate and adjusting funding for transportation, police, and fire departments. They also have data laid out on these cool maps and graphs so that you can spot trends and easily deal with them. Now, to those people that are familiar with the SNES version, you will find that there are no gifts here. Indeed, there are no gifts. Nothing to really boost the property value all that much. So, that's a major gameplay difference from the DOS version. And the other major thing, for me anyway, would be the little desk 3D model view that the SNES version had. But that's just getting facetious. We also have the disasters. You know, this version came bundled with disasters. You can also turn them off if you want to. Your disasters include fire, flood, monster attack. You have tornadoes, you have earthquakes. You got it all, man. And so, instead of giving you guys strategies, though, because that would just be ruining the game, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the story of Deeznutz. The mayor of Deeznutz got unceremoniously dumped from the server and was dishonorably discharged after the city council finding out that he was skimming some money off of the top. So, before that, though, there were plenty of riots in the streets about how the town of Deeznutz weren't allowed to build apartment buildings for some weird reason, and just generally wasted space and less efficiency. Plus, the mayor of Deeznutz was pretty stern and set in his old ways, whereas the would-be mayor of Deeznutz knew an official, better way to do things than the previous mayor of Deeznutz. So after the small peasant uprising, the citizens of Deeznutz established a new town a little bit to the right called Deeznutz, wherein Deeznutz had the donut block method of placing zones with a park in the middle, because he appreciated the middle park idea. It harkened back to the Romans and their little circular inner space away from the city, so to speak, with the concept of villas and enclaves, where you can go towards the back and be away from the city. The citizens and the mayor of Deeznutz opted for a more efficient usage of the space by doing a 2x2 parcel all the way down their plot of land, and it worked. There was also no stupid ordinance about not being able to build apartment buildings, so whereas the population of Deeznutz quickly stagnated, the population of Deeznutz quickly escalated. So we hit our strides. The city of Deeznutz effectively became a town somewhere around 1910, I guess. It became a city-sized right around probably sometime in the 30s or 40s, I can barely remember. But after turning into the city-sized population, they started getting slammed with disasters, one after the other. It was like the freaking Chicagos in the 1910s all over again. You know, you had random fires. There were at least 5 times Godzilla stopped by. And we're not even in Japan, you know. Freaking Toho had to make 5
Godzilla movies in the town of Deeznutz. I mean, seriously, it was ridiculous. There were also myriad amounts of flooding events. There was a couple of bad storms. None of the tornadoes, fortunately, touched down within the city limits. And, of course, there was an earthquake or two, which caused major disasters. But the tough populace of Deeznutz destroyed and rebuilt, kept destroying and rebuilding until they officially reached capital status sometime around the 70s, I think. 70s or 80s. At which point the mayor of Deeznutz commissioned for both a seaport and an airport, and they got built, fit in nicely with the city plan, and there was also money for a stadium as well as expanding the zoned area. The only other hurdle in the quest for 100,000 people is an extra nuclear power plant. This is as simple. They had plenty of room because, again, they were using the most efficient space method for the time. So they put one down, 100,000 people reached, and that is where they are today, existing happily and efficiently. They are taxed a little high though, but they don't seem to complain. So, does it stand the test of time? You bet it does. Usually whenever I try to play these city simulator games, I want to be playing the most complex version there is. That's why I like SimCity 2013 so much. It accommodated for all kinds of aspects of city planning while providing the agent-based simulation, which to me is the more accurate way to go. But, and this is big, sometimes you just want to strip it down, you know, you want to make it simpler. Especially if you're trying to introduce new people to the aspect of city simulation. You know, you don't want to throw a bunch of complex concepts at them right away and be like, oh, get their brain overwhelmed and everything. You just don't want to do that. So, SimCity still functions as a good way to introduce people to the concept of a city simulation game. Though I would argue that most people are smart enough now to start off with SimCity 2000, this game here has a quaint charm about it that can just never be replaced. They didn't even duplicate it with LinCity, the open source Linux version. But you can download this very game here, SimCity, on abandonware websites, and EA hasn't sent an agent out to kill me yet, so I think you'll be fine. Although I think they do sell it on the Origin store. That's kind of funny. But yeah, download it, plug it in the DOS box, give it a whirl, and, you know, have fun. Enjoy the late 80s. One of the best games of the late 80s. Enjoy it.